Welcome to Third and Three, the podcast where the game's still on. The clock's ticking, and three friends in the third quarter of life are calling the plays they've never practiced. I'm Chad, joined by Kurt and Mark, and today's episode is packed. We're going to do a timely cultural check-in led by yours truly. Kurt's going to walk us through the 4% rule and what most people get wrong about retirement planning. Mark's going to build a new kind of scorecard, one that actually works after the career clock stops. And yes, we'll finish with a little Broncos talk because hope dies hard in Colorado. All right, so segment one, Chad's discussion, the reality check, living well in a wobbly world. How do we stay grounded and sane when the world seems off its axis?
Coors Light.
That's an option.
Yeah,
You can't rule it out.
I'm gonna close the segment on that.
I think we answered our question.
Because it's really the only way to feel better while remaining trim. But
see you next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Pound that like button.
All right, so you guys, it seems like life used to have like kind of a pattern going on, and now it feels like between news and the markets and politics and technology and even retirement itself, it feels unpredictable. So what do you hold on to when everything around you keeps shifting? Guys, let's talk about that. Obviously, the amount of information we get with the internet is just insane. And yes, occasionally there's good news, but it's mostly bad news. So how do you guys, because I know both of you intake a lot of content, how do you not scream the sky is falling? How do you sort of keep a sort of optimistic and hopeful outlook?
Well, I think you have to dial back the fire hose, it's very easy to get caught up in the everybody's screaming at the moon.
Yeah. And how do you do that? I mean, Bumps, because I know you watch a lot of YouTube, as do I, as does Mark.
Yeah.
Who is Mark?
What's your... How do you... It's only Belch. Sorry. So does Belch. Kurt, how do you... How do you... Knowing you take in a lot of content, how do you filter it? Do you have any
formal... I used to watch far too much news on television where I can't actually moderate the content coming in. It's whatever they choose to feed me. So based on your choice of news platform, you generally get fed one narrative or another. With YouTube, I think you have to be very intentional with what you want to go seek. The algorithm will get you stuff. I mean, this is why they do what they do, is it'll give you stuff to keep you there.
Right.
It'll keep you engaged, enraged. So I think you have to be much more intentional rather than just following the rat hole. You have to say, I want this piece of information, and then I either get out or I search for a different piece of information. I don't let the algorithm tell me what I want to watch.
Okay. Noting that, what allows you, so when you see a piece of content and it's screaming gloom and doom, Trump did this, or the Democrats did this, or the economy's crashing. When it's written, I mean, if you're like me, you go like, oh, wow, I should not just check out. I should figure out, like, that sounds like that's going to impact me big time. What allows you to not take the bait?
Well, for me, one thing is understanding who the source is.
Okay.
If it's some random 3 dudes on a podcast,
right,
maybe that's not the cleanest information.
Right.
I mean,
What?
other 3 people, not us.
All the other 3-person podcasts.
But it literally, if someone's whole purpose is to generate rage and clicks, and they don't have much reputation other than they know how to use Photoshop and make cool thumbnails. It takes some discipline, but you've got to avoid clicking on that. Even
right, but wouldn't you agree that the big players also participate in this sort of clickbait strategy?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm on the All In podcast, a sponsor of ours, by the way.
Right.
They had Elon Musk on last week, and he was saying how they messed up their algorithm where, basically the narrative that maybe I'm going down. Let's say I were to search fantasy football best lineups for week 11, which I did today. And, but it was sending you 10x what it was supposed to. And it took them a while to figure it out. So, and I think I kind of noticed that, because if it was like last month, I could not get out of fantasy football on my feed on YouTube at all. I mean, like, I would have to search something separate. Everything was fantasy football. So,
just to be clear, Elon was talking about Twitter, not YouTube.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, he was.
He doesn't own YouTube yet.
Yes. But yes, good point. So, yeah. But the point being is, I think whatever narrative your, preferences are is what it's going to feed you. And you have to actually go out. I try not to just go into what they give me. I try to do searches on what I want.
Right.
So I try to do, like, how to start a 1999 Arctic cat was one I did recently, or, I do specific things around retirement, like, the Roth IRA trap, or, it might be, I have certain things around Broncos, Colorado Buffaloes, Denver Nuggets that I follow, but I don't follow just anybody. I don't put in Denver Nuggets. I try to follow the actual, people that, aren't saying Joker's, a horrible player. I only follow the people that say he's the greatest player of all time.
Right.
And
right.
Chad, to your point, I think they all have some reason to get you to click.
Yeah.
But over time, like Mark was just alluding to, you build trust in certain providers that say, I've listened to them 14 times before, and while they may feel a certain way on issue X, I've come to trust their opinion on this other thing.
Yeah, like they do tell, but even if you can tell they have a preference towards one side of the story, you sense they always are honest enough with themselves to recognize when that side has stepped out of bounds or whatever.
Yeah, I think if you're really looking for truth, I mean, I'll ask OpenAI a question, on the app.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll ask, like, Gemini the same question and see.
Just to see how they line up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say most of the time they're the same or similar. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but I think you can find, everybody says you can't find the truth anymore. I don't agree with that. I think the truth is out there. It takes a little bit more investigation than what most people are willing to do. They just want to have their truth told to them so they can believe it. But no, I think whatever the topic is, you can actually find out, if Dobbins is going on the IR today or not. You can find that stuff out.
Okay. And what for you guys are the anchoring forces when the world wobbles like this? Like what? Like, is it, friendship? Is it family? Is it faith? Like what for you helps bring some calmness to your life when the outside world at least appears to be on fire?
All the above. I mean, the outside world wants you to be scared and enraged.
Yeah.
That's how they get clicks. So that's
the
easiest stick to use to get people to stay online.
Yeah.
And so turning it off every once in a while and engaging with family and friends in real life
helps balance it.
Finding yourself three guys that have a great new podcast, I think is a key to a lot of life's problems.
Well said. Well said. I think you're right. The difference between the happy people in life and the not so happy is a podcast. Okay, Mark. Any final thoughts about
No,
how
I
you
agree.
handle?
I think you gotta go outside and do something else. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
obviously, if you watch NBC News, for instance, it's literally the same thing. It's a plane crash followed by a giant fire, followed by a murder, followed by a disappearing young girl, with a
Yeah.
beautiful story at the end about somebody that helps a special person in a hospital. That's and it's a warm, heartwarming story. But I mean, they throw that at
Yeah.
the end, I think,
Yeah.
just so you'll come back. It's kind of
Totally.
like when you birdie the 18th, you're just like, all right, I guess I'll play again despite shooting in 97.
Right.
It's the exact same thing.
Totally. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Let's move on to segment 2. It's Kurt's Finance Corner. Kurt, you're going to talk about the 4% rule and the power of spending control. So I'm going to hand it off to you.
Yeah. So one of the most popular metrics of people gauging their retirement readiness from a financial point of view has always been the 4% rule. And it's really more of a rule of thumb than a hard and fast rule. But the 4% rule was developed in, I think, the early 90s. The Trinity study written by Bill Bengen came up with...
I'm sure it was Einstein.
It was not Einstein.
Oh.
But it came up, they did a big study about what was the right safe withdrawal rate. So what percentage of your financial portfolio could you take out annually to live on and not run out of money over a 30-year retirement? So their analysis based on a 60-40 stocks to bonds asset ratio came up with you could comfortably live off 4% of your portfolio, annually adjust that amount for the inflation rate. So when the inflation is at 4%, you'd add 4% to your last year's 4% take, and keep doing that every year after. And it never failed in the 30 years that they modeled it over, the entire history of the stock market. It never failed. Since then, they've done some different research on really 4% was probably too low. It's really probably more like a 4.7. And I think we've touched on last week a little bit that even in your early years, you could probably go higher than that, knowing that your later years will likely be A, less expensive, and B, probably subsidized by some portion of Social Security.
Is that because the market's making more money? Like,
now?
Is that why the 4% has gone up?
I think it is making more, but I think one of their big reasons for going up to 4.7 is they sharpened their pencil a little bit and said, look, this was under the worst possible case, and it still never failed. It got close, but it didn't fail. And so I think they tried to model it more to, okay, let's not take the worst case in the history of humankind. Let's look at a more normalized, average it over all of those 30-year buckets. But anyways, the point of this finance quarter is not to debate whether 4 or 4.7 is the right amount. It's that people focus on that 4% rule, and then they figure, how big does my portfolio need to be in order for me to quit working? I think that's the wrong place to focus. I think the math of that is just really, you use the inverse of 4%, which is 25, and you say, what's my annual spend? Multiply that by 25, and that gets to how big does your portfolio need to be in order to justify or sustainably last you through a retirement.
Right. So if you're not there, you either have to save more money or you have to cut costs.
Work longer, save more money. But my point is, the way the formula works is the portfolio size is a function of your expenditures. People focus on the wrong thing, and they really need to take probably a closer look at what their spending is, because of the equation equals portfolio equals annual spend times 25, meaning your annual spend is tremendously influential in how big your portfolio needs to be. For every $10,000 you spend less per year, you have to have $250,000 less dollars in your portfolio. So it's a 25x multiplier.
Yes.
So I assume this equation, I mean, one of the things that I'm counting on, at least at some level, is that my portfolio will also grow. So the number that I have now is not necessarily indicative of the number that I'll have 15 years from now.
Right, but you're going to be consuming it as well.
Yes, you're right.
So you're trying to outpace, and that's why it works over a 30-year period, not just a 25-year period, because it does count on it growing.
Okay.
It's probably overly conservative in my opinion, in its asset allocation of 60% stocks to 40% bonds.
People
That's
buy
a lot of bonds. Huh? What's that?
I didn't know they had bonds anymore.
They do. I own some.
I thought that was kind of like the penny. Like it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
They still sell them. They don't perform real well, but they still sell them. So anyways, the spend is far more influential than just saving more or working longer. You have to do a lot more saving than perhaps trimming spend that doesn't bring you value. It's the biggest lever you have. So, I would recommend that everybody have a budget, track their spending, sit down with their spouse if that's applicable, and go through how they spend money and make sure this is where we get value. We get value out of spending this amount of money in this category, whether that's travel or restaurants or mortgage or whatever it is. Make sure that how you allocate your spend equals to the joy you get out of those things. So I'm not trying to make an argument to be a miser for the rest of your life, but spend where you get value and make sure that you don't spend where you don't get value.
Yeah. I read something once that said 20% of Americans actually look at their bank statement and less than 5% actually have a budget. And I totally believe that.
I would totally believe that. And I would tell you, before we retired, I did neither of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at my statement to make sure there weren't erroneous charges. That was all I did.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I never saw what my wife spent, and I still don't know. And it's scary.
It's very, very scary.
It is a team game.
It is. Right.
Yeah. And you need to be need to be able to stack hands and be all in together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's interesting, Kurt, like you say, cut $10,000 from your annual spending, and that means $250,000 less in your portfolio. Think about how hard it is to save $250,000. It's probably way easier to figure out how are we going to cut 10 grand. Because again, you go in and you just go, well, we're doing this in this area. Like, shoot, I can cut off $500 on that. Like, let's not have a car payment. Let's sell one of the cars and try and save up in cash and then buy a car. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can cut out, I would think, 10,000. It seems to me much harder to cut.
I think we've all done a much better job since we've retired of looking at our spend.
Yep.
And we
cut out
found
my
some
kids.
Low-hanging fruit.
I sold one of my kids.
Yeah. Right. Hey, that's a quick 15 grand right there.
Actually, so just on my phone bill alone, just by learning more about, for instance, T-Mobile 55 plus plan. You see the commercials, but until you're looking to retire, you just don't pay attention to any of that. But that's going to save me from my AT&T about $4,000 a year. So right there, that's a ton of money. And that's just on a phone plan.
Yeah.
4 times 25. I mean, that's $100,000.
Yeah, which is insane.
I just made $100,000.
Yeah.
Well, you just needed to have 100,000 less in your portfolio to say, I'm ready to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
By finding that one thing. And, you know, so you find a couple more of those, and all of a sudden there's your $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So the point is, the focus should be on make sure we're spending money where we, consciously want to spend money.
Yeah.
Having every streaming service, maybe where you get value. I don't know. It might be. And if it is, great, knock yourself out. If it isn't, and you signed up 2 years ago for that one show and you haven't watched it since, maybe get rid of that one. That's $30 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite looking for erroneous charges over the years, I realized I was still paying for Roku $20 a month. And I haven't had that in 6 years, I would say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's
that's a
tons
bummer.
of stuff like that. Yeah. I'm going to sue him. But
I think that's what this is all about. How do we get more litigious?
Well, hey, Kurt, what Kurt talked about is you don't control the market. You do control your spending. Budget, track, and discuss with your spouse and make sure your spending matches your values. All right, we're going to pivot now to Mark's segment. We call that On Your Mark. And Mark, you're going to talk a little bit about redefining your scoreboard, your scorecard.
Yeah. So I mentioned a little bit about last week that we do this thing called the game, and I've been doing it for years, like 25 years. And basically, it is a way to change habits more than anything else. And most people are always striving to improve. I've always been the type that, I'm not, I don't listen to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is good stuff. But I think I have read a lot of books along those lines through my business career. And I do think there's a lot of value in trying to improve at any age. And so when you retire, there's no boss anymore that's going to tell you what to do. There's no numbers. There's no goals. There's nothing other than yourself telling yourself like, okay, I still want to get better at whatever it might be. It might be relationships. It could be, health. It could be, picking up new hobbies, whatever it might be. But, obviously it's not the same as when you went to work and you were trying to hit a number or whatever it was, hitting metrics. So the game as we see it, if you want to put it up, that'd be great. So what I'm doing this round, I started November 1st, and I'll be going through.
You want me to call your slide, Belt?
Oh, sorry. Do you have it there?
Yeah.
So basically, I'm focused this time on health, but more specific things, and then furthermore, I'm looking at doing some hobby stuff. So I would say that. So it's a point system, and I do it. I measure it every day, and I keep a journal on it, and why I miss things like that. But obviously, I've done things like how many steps in a day and all that kind of stuff. But this time, it's very specific. I'm trying to gain muscle after 50, which is really hard. So I'm taking steroids, D-ball, Anavar, Winstrol. No,
it's all good.
No, but I'm upping my protein because, according to Dr. Peter Attil, you have to do, I think it's a gram for your body weight. So I'd have to do 190 grams of protein a day, which, I can't even imagine the gas that would give me. But I'm going to do 120 because I'm married. And we sleep in the same bed. We're not like Laura and Rob Petrie. So I'm going to try to, stay married. But I think the big thing is you got to make sure you get enough sleep. And I have a tendency to get like 5 hours sometimes. And so I really have to try harder at that and make sure I lift or do cardio basically every day. And so, those are the things I'm striving for. The other things obviously are like, play pickleball and you can see the point system there. So at the end, if I hit everything, well, if I don't have to be perfect. If you look, it's like 80%. I get to treat myself to a golf trip to Arizona if I do all this over 90 days. And if I fail on this podcast, I will sing the Star Spangled Banner, which you guys don't want. It's not going to be good for the podcast at all.
I'm not saying I'm rooting against you, Belch, but
yeah. And then you guys are doing something similar. You guys took what I did, and you guys said that you're building your own little games. I mean, obviously not as big as mine, so they're little games.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I've got several lifestyle things, even emotional things for me, some spiritual disciplines and habits that I'm trying to develop. Because in all reality, that's the only way I know how to measure some of that stuff. That is the hard part when you get into some of these more emotional parts of your life. It's like, what is the metric that says I'm improving in these areas? And yes, I can put them to certain disciplines, so I can sort of try and say, well, I'm going to tell my wife I love her 7 times a day or some, whatever. Or I'm going to send an encouraging text to my kids once a week.
She doesn't like that idea.
She probably wouldn't. I mean, I know she likes to hear that I love her, but not that often.
Yeah.
It becomes a little disingenuous. But like, yeah, I mean,
especially when you get them all in at 10:30.
Yeah, right. Did I mention again that I love you? So about any thoughts about that? Like when it comes to like
the hard to measure stuff.
Like if I was going to encourage my kids, what kind of
from being in sales and business for 30 years, 35 years, whatever it was, 1990. I guess that's 35 years. I would say that it's always SMART goals. They have to be measurable.
Right.
I'm not saying that you can't do something like that. You certainly can. But I will say, like if it were telling your wife you loved her 7 times a day, it sounds like, you either did something wrong or
right. Yes. Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe you just change it. Maybe it's not measured in that way. Maybe she scores you on that one.
Yeah. Maybe it's more like you do something.
I do the dishes for her. Or
Yeah, I was hoping I do the dishes. I mean, gosh.
Well, you're amazing.
I get no credit for it.
Belch, again, we're all trying to improve. Can't all be Belcher on day one.
Yeah, what are you like? Are you living in a 1950s house? What are you doing?
Of course I do. Hey, I do my own laundry, just so you guys know. Just so I get some credit. Yeah.
That's why I zipped all the way up.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a dirty stained shirt under it. No, just kidding. Okay, Belch, any other final thoughts before we move on?
No, I think it's that simple. It really is just creating a scorecard after you have no reason to do it other than to improve. Yeah.
No, awesome. This is helpful because I also, have 3 different areas in my life that I'm trying to improve on, but seeing this kind of point system and then a threshold that's achievable, maybe a bit of a stretch, but not
it's going to require
not a slam dunk or impossible. I think is a great way to approach it. I don't think I'm going to offer up singing on the pod, but maybe something else.
Maybe you can go to Crossroads Mall and get on the giant eagle and pretend like you're riding it or something.
Or treat everybody to Casa Bonita.
I like that. I
like that a lot.
Belch, what about just final thoughts? What about accountability? Do you when you play the game, do you always grab a partner or a group of partners to say, "Hey, we're gonna talk about this once a week"? And
I've never played with myself.
Okay, that's that's important. That's important.
But again,
I have not.
Okay.
I actually have never. I've always done it with usually teammates at work, actually, and it was almost always like work was the major reason for doing it. Like when I ran teams, and then somebody would pick 1 or 2 other things outside. Like they were going to build shelves in their garage or something, and then
right.
And then somebody else on the team was like, "I'll help you with that. I'm really good." So it actually became kind of a camaraderie kind of team building thing.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Belch. We're going to move on to segment 4, a segment I'm going to call Colorado Sports. So it's not just going to be the Broncos. In this case, it is. And guys, we're going to talk about, are the Broncos for real? The Broncos came out swinging this year. Smart defense, better coaching, some big wins so far. But the cracks show at times. So the question is this team have real Super Bowl DNA, or is it just another false start and they're going to fizzle out in the early rounds of the playoffs? Kurt or Belch? I want your take.
Well,
we're going to Kurt's house for the game, so let's let him go first.
Yeah.
What's that?
We're going to your house for the Chiefs game, so you can go
that's
first.
That's right. And I expect you to be in full Bronco regalia.
Yes.
Making the playoffs, last year was the first year in I think like 8 or 9 years they made the playoffs. Let's not act like that's a disappointment.
Right.
They're 8-2 right now, which is the best record in the AFC, tied with the Colts and the Patriots. So it's circa 1988, I think, all over again. Their defense is stellar, on pace to break the all-time sacks record in a season.
Yes.
Their offense has been extremely shaky as of late. They've had some bursts of offense in fourth quarters. I do think the last couple games have been not necessarily the best version of them because of some key injuries. I think Mims being out and Patrick Surtain being out has been very painful to them. Every team's dealing with injuries, don't get me wrong, but those are two big ones. The offense, when it gets in trouble, those Mims bubble screens seem to get them a lot of 3rd and 8s, and they haven't had them the last 2 weeks.
Yes. I would say this team is really close to being good. If you look at it, they lost on the last second of the game to the Colts at Indianapolis on a field goal. That was a really tough call.
Second
and I would
chance
say
field goal.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Broncos actually, you can never say should have won that game because the game is the game. But Nick's threw a late pick in that game. Lutz missed a field goal late. I mean, it was a game they certainly could have won. And then the Chargers game, they were up by 10 with 4 minutes to go and lost that. So they easily could be 10-0. And then everybody's talking a different story entirely, like, wow, they're the best team in the league. They also could be 4-6 because they won games in the exact opposite direction where they came back, scored 18 points in the fourth quarter against the Eagles, and then they turned around and scored
the
27
Giants.
Against is insane. So I mean, this team is so Jekyll and Hyde. But I look at last year, Nick's as a rookie, and he started the season horrible, and part of it was Peyton just didn't give him very good plays to run, and then how he got out of that was he had crazy feet last year. Like he could not stay in the pocket. He always scrambled the outside, and then when he started stepping up in the pocket and then scrambling from there and putting pressure on the defense, that offense changed dynamically. I think he needs to do that again. He needs to step up in the pocket and, look downfield. And if it's not there, he needs to take off so that they have to stay in their lanes. Right now, it's been the pass rush against us the last 3 games has been a jailbreak because he's not making them pay and he's got good feet. So I think that's the key to the Broncos is Nick's being an athlete. And so far this year, they haven't used him at all in that aspect because they're afraid he's going to get hurt because that's the way quarterbacks are. But now with Dobbins hurt, I think they could be in a little trouble. I think Harvey's a good running back, and I think McLaughlin could come in and be the third guy. But it's not a great running back room to start with. They can't lose many receivers because it's not a great receiver room. There's just not a lot of weapons on that offense. So that defense has to be,
spectacular.
Yeah, it has to be 2015 good for this team. You got to be able to go with a crippled Peyton Manning at quarterback and, C.J. Anderson at running back, bad offense, and still win with that stellar defense. And that's what this defense could do. Or Bo Nix has to become an athlete and turn the offense around.
So according to some of the betting lines, the Broncos have roughly a 92% chance of making the playoffs, but just a 12.2% odds of winning it all. So again, I think a lot of fans...
That's a pretty good.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know where
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I don't know where that would position them, but it was got to be in the top 10 of
the other thing
teams.
is, there's no juggernauts this year. I think the Rams look to be the best team.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Rams aren't beatable by... there's probably 7 teams that can beat the Rams on any given Sunday, maybe more. It's just a league filled with parity. And it's like, obviously there's some bottom dwellers that aren't very good, but they've even stepped up and beat some pretty good teams. I don't think there's there's no Tom Brady Patriots teams out there. That's for sure.
This week will be very interesting to see how good the defense can be and if the offense can improve. The Chiefs haven't been great this year, but they're still the Chiefs.
And you got to beat the refs too, man.
Totally. Yeah. The Chiefs get amazing calls. Amazing calls.
Yeah.
We're going to hear about that in the comments.
With our big Kansas City contingency that we have.
Yes. Down, subscribe, like.
Thank you, smash the like, pound the notification bell.
Yes. Yeah. And also like our other sponsor, Hyundai. I think you guys should
Hyundai.
probably. Yes.
All right.
All right, you third and threeers.
Hey. Yes. So if we spend better, track what actually matters, and keep our expectations reasonable, we might just win the whole thing, or at least enjoy the drive. Thanks for listening to 3rd and 3. No cliches, no shortcuts, just 3 guys, 3 yards, and a cloud of midlife. See you next week.